When you think of street food in Australia, you might picture something like the night markets here at Queen Victoria Market in Melbourne. Or maybe you think of this. Closed due to the pandemic, normally cuisines from around the world will be served out here in the open. But in China, it's a different story. With much of the country still open, street food is back on the menu, baby, and it's a quintessential part of life for many.
It's my kind of junk food that I crave, and it's cheap and it's very satisfying. That we've kind of like integrated into all of our lives in China.
At all hours of the day, on any given street corner, you'll see cart-drawn cooktops and vendors dishing out a huge variety of foods. Jianbing, jiaozi, noodles, donkey burgers. You can even get a scorpion on a stick. Check that out. That's right. That's me eating a deep-fried scorpion in Beijing. But that wasn't the only insect I had that day. Check out that caterpillar on my upper lip.
I remember when I first moved to Shanghai in 2011, I saw a lot of those, usually late night outside clubs with lines, and like these carts were massive and they had every kind of skewer on the planet. And I was like, that looks like mystery meat, but I'll eat it anyway.
Mystery meat to cure your hangover. Yum, 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 yum. But things have changed in recent decades. In some cities, street vendors are being forced off the sidewalk. Strict regulations are making it harder for vendors to operate. They risk getting fined, shut down, and having their wares confiscated.
The government tend to think street vending has a lot of problems associated with that. Hygiene and the block of traffic, I think it also related to the government perception about what is a modern city.
So I think at root, the issue is conceptual.
Professor Anna Greenspan from NYU Shanghai helped run a project called Movable Feast that maps Shanghai's street food and its decline.
There's a kind of notion that particularly informal markets of the street are backward, and that in order for the city to modernize, it has to clean up the streets. I mean, Shanghai, there's beautiful cocktail bars and beautiful restaurants, and of course I like all that, but I also like to squat on the street and eat a bowl of noodles, and that is getting harder and harder.
For many low-earning Chinese citizens, street food is a cheap and convenient option, and for street vendors, it's a livelihood.
China has been going through the fastest and most intense process of urbanization in history. For those that don't have a lot of resources, selling on the street is a really good way to earn a living. Like, you don't need a lot of capital to set up a street stall.
Oh, here comes the Chengguan.
On the front line of China's push to clean up the streets are local enforcement officers known as Chengguan.
Otherwise, your staff will be, confiscated.
They're not the police per se, but they specialize, but they belong to the city government.
Sometimes described as China's most hated people, Chengguan have been accused of using violent tactics to remove vendors. But they also kind of have a tough job.
They are sandwiched between the local government and the street vendors. Both the auxiliary Chengguan and the street vendors, they come from the similar background. All of them come from the poor population.
Oh, wow. That was so good. Su Yanmeng is a staff writer at Radii China in Shanghai. She's written about the city's street food culture, and she's spoken to vendors across the city about their work.
I usually come here once or twice a month, especially on Saturdays and Sundays after having a few drinks with my friends at the bar nearby. It's like perfect comfort food at 2 a.m.,
So this guy's like your local food guy, eh? Can you tell us a bit about him?
He is actually from a small city nearby Shanghai, not from Shanghai. He and his wife, and they have been running this business for around 7 years.
It's common for vendors to be migrants, come into urban centers to try and make a better income. But it's not easy.
每天工作大概我从下午2、3点钟起来，大概到第二天4、5点钟，就第二天的凌晨嘛，4、5点钟，大概有12个小时，13、14个小时吧。
But unfortunately, his relationship with Chengguan is not that much good. It's pretty intense.
Siyuan says this vendor gets caught by the Chengguan around twice a month.
Some of the penalty might include a few hundred RMB or confiscate their whole cart.
When COVID hit last year, China's economy, like much of the world's, started to lag. And Premier Li Keqiang gave a nod to the nation's street vendors, saying they were the lifeblood of the economy. The comment went viral and set off a wave of media about the rejuvenation of the nation's street food culture. Some cities even relaxed regulations. But the revival may have been short-lived.
And my speculation is that I think this will not last long. It's only temporary. So because there's no systematic change about attitude about what is a modern city.
Some major cities, including Beijing, quickly hosed down expectations and said rules around street vending would still be enforced, leaving many people disappointed.
Street markets in general are what makes a street or a neighborhood lively, right? And so gives the city its culture.